Hello, welcome back. We are here at the Rope Break podcast with me and Dan, and we're going to discuss everything that's happened and everything that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think first thing what do we think of the first Monday Night Raw of the Netflix era, as they said?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I can see both sides of the argument. Some people thought it was incredible, and some people thought that it was shit. I think that it's somewhere like in the middle. I personally really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Was the things that I think should have been done different? Yes. But I do think that they did do a really good job of trying to balance, because it's a difficult balance. You know, it's the people that can't afford Sky definitely, you know, and a lot of people that do have Sky, they don't pay for TNT Sports and stuff. So people who haven't had access to wrestling and maybe haven't watched it since they was a kid can now watch it. People who've never seen it scrolling through Netflix going, "What's this Raw thing about?" I'm gonna have a look at that. No idea what it is. So they've, you know, yes, there was a lot of video packages in it that a lot of people weren't happy with. My missus Bex wasn't happy with it at all. So these 10-minute video packages do my head in. But obviously, I think they did do a good job of giving that backstory and letting people who don't watch it every week know what's going on and what's been happening and why he hates him and why she don't like her and you know and who these characters are. But I think for people like us that watch every show every week, I think they did do a good job of keeping us happy as well. And yeah, okay, you know, I weren't happy. They pulled Penta's debut. I'm looking forward to that. But it's got everyone coming back next week, though, hasn't it?
So I think it was overhyped. I think I said that before. I think there was a lot of hype for it, and then when it was on, it was a bit like, okay, like there were certain segments that you could clearly see that were rushed, like the Undertaker one. I've said this to you before.
Yeah,
like that was a bit bizarre. He's at the end of Rhea Ripley's just won the title. He comes out, goes down the ramp, walks the bike round the ring, and then back up and back out. It's a bit like, oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It was completely random.
Yeah. A lot of people say that, but again, like with people like the Undertaker, it's just nice to see him. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to grab a mic and say something. Just that, like you do that for the pop. Undertaker, you hear that gong and the whole arena erupts like that. So that's the moment. It's that, like, and I did it as soon as I heard the gong. I was, you know, you feel like you're a kid again, you know. But that's, you know, with, you know, Stone Cold and Taker, and, you know, when you bring guys like that back. Apparently they did try and get Austin, but they couldn't come to an agreement, which I don't really know what's going on there, because they did this at Mania. They tried to get Austin because obviously Austin was Rock's biggest rival.
Yeah.
So they wanted. So it ended up being the Undertaker was the last one that came out to help Cody. It was supposed to be Austin, and they couldn't come to an agreement. So I don't really know what's going on there. And I think we have to talk about Hulk Hogan. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
I'm arena booing him.
Yeah, Dom level booing. That was like.
Oh, yeah.
And you could tell as well that segment, I think, went on a little bit longer than normal, because I don't think they were expecting the crowd to react like they did.
No.
So I mean, he was completely booed out the building.
Why that, I think?
I think the remarks that have come out over the years and all the thingies. I think it's just people are probably a bit like, look, we've seen Hogan. Let's move away now. He's part of the golden era. You know, that was, you know, before anything else. But I think it's mainly down to the stuff that he said before, and I just think there's that sentiment of we've had enough of Hulk Hogan now. But he got completely booed, and like I said, it came across as if he was obviously trying to do his promo, but it couldn't come out because there was so much booing. So I think it just ran on a little bit longer than normal. I mean, they would have. I mean, obviously, he was only there really to promote his beer, which is being advertised by WWE now. So, you know, I don't know why they just didn't got someone else, got someone else to do that spot.
Do you know what though, mate? For a split second, when he said the line, I'm here to promote American beer, my beer, the best beer in the world. I was honestly expecting Stone Cold's music to it.
Yeah,
and him come out as if to go, no, like Broken Skull IPA is the best beer in the world, and I ended up having a scrap over who's the best beer. What I will say about Hulk is, I know that he's very. Like I read things on Twitter from American fans that were saying, you know, because he's very outspoken and very, very political, and he's very upfront about the fact that he's a Trump supporter and all of this, like, and that's. But I'm sure there are other people that I'm not even gonna say, just in case I'm wrong, but I don't look, you know. But
yeah.
I know for a fact that there are other people that work at WWE that also support Trump, that believe that he's the right president, and they haven't been booed out of the building. I think it's more than just his political opinions. Obviously, he does. Look, it's a funny one with me for Hulk, because I mean, he was doing his stuff before I was born. I weren't born until '92. He'd virtually retired by this point. You know, like so it is way before my time. I think he did really well to stay professional, because with an entire arena booing him, and you could see he wasn't expecting it, but he actually did do a good job of actually not stumbling over his lines, and he actually delivered the. If you think of his age, you know, he's got to be like, what is he, around 70 now? You know,
maybe, I don't know. He's pushing it.
I bet he's 70s. I bet he's early 70s. So I think if you think the fact that he's early 70s, he doesn't do this anymore. So it's not like he's not in the groove and the rhythm of cutting promos anymore.
Yeah.
And for that surprise and shock of the entire arena booing him when he's so used to everyone cheering him, I think he actually did really well to like stay professional in the moment and deliver the promo. But I do think you do have to agree with what Michael Cole said on commentary, though, that, you know, he basically said we wouldn't be sat here right now without that man on about Hulk Hogan. And whether you like him or not, it is true, because the main event of Mania 3, I think it was before even you were born, but I think when you look at what Hogan versus Andre the Giant did for wrestling, that was the first boom. Yes, okay, it's got bigger and bigger and bigger as years have gone on. Obviously, you know, Ric Flair took it further on with the Von Erichs, and then it was, you know, it was like Jake the Snake Roberts and Roddy Piper and people like that. Yeah. Then it was like the Undertaker and Triple H and Shawn Michaels and Rock and Austin, and then obviously Cena and Orton, and of course it's gone, you know, it's got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But that initial, what made it go from being, you know, just a bit kind of culty and a bit like, you know, kind of not a big deal, and definitely not seen all around the globe, it was the Hogan and Andre match that made it just explode. Yeah. So to be fair, you can't really argue with the fact that we probably wouldn't be here now without him and the amount of houses that he drew in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I think it comes really down to, I'd like to say, I think it's just his what has happened and come out over the you know, couple of years now. In regards to what he said about certain people and stuff like that. Like I said, I think most people were just like, you know, we acknowledge Hulk Hogan, but he doesn't really need to be here.
Yeah,
you know, we want the same guys. Well, go on.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. We all wanted Austin, but you know, I did. Yeah, to be honest, me and you have spoke about Hulk loads of times, and like the amount of people that are like, "Oh, he talks absolute shit," like he just lies. Like he's like, "Oh, I remember when such and such a thing happened on such and such an episode of Raw, and I was backstage and I seen this and I seen that," and then like Chris Jericho be like, "Hulk, you were working with me in Japan on that night." Like we talk, like, and he constantly just lies and just makes random.
I think it's stuff like that that has come out, and then stuff about you know, things like Mark Henry and Booker T and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's sorted the wound really.
Yeah.
But getting back on it. Obviously, Roman beat Solo.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was watching the match. I was like, who's going to interfere? Obviously, we knew you know, Tamatonga and the werewolf were going to come in. It was just like who, and then obviously they came out, and then the surprising factor for me was Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
And then obviously kicked out of the stunner, and then Cody come out. And that's another thing as well. I want to say, you know, as well, that for a 3.5 hour show, because that's how long it went on for, it didn't really feature the world champion, especially the Raw world champion, apart from a promo. He should have been on the show. He should have been in the ring doing a promo in the ring, not a video package.
He
and
should have
just done a quick run out. It was a bit like,
yeah. I think Cody should have. So it's hard because I understand them saving Cody Owens for the Royal Rumble, but I do think Cody and Gunther should have been on. Should have had a match, even if it was like a non. I mean, me personally, I think, you know, how big that night was. I think Cody and Gunther definitely should have been defending the titles. But again, this is the thing. It wasn't a pay-per-view. Yes, it was a Super Raw, but it was just a Monday Night Raw. And I think the issue, and you mentioned it on the last podcast, Bex has been mentioning it to me all week when I've been getting all giddy and hyper. She's like, just calm down, because it's not going to be what you think it's going to be. I'm like, oh, Charlotte's coming, Becky's coming, Austin's coming. And she's like, no, like, don't overhype it. Then you won't be disappointed. And look, when it ended, I was a little bit disappointed. To be honest, the only thing that I was actually disappointed, I was disappointed that Hogan came out instead of Austin. And obviously we know now it's because they couldn't agree terms with Austin.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed that they pulled Penta's debut, because I think he'd have got a massive reaction from the fans. But again, I need to stress that first episode, as much as you want to make that first episode great, they also want to make people come back next week.
Yeah, you want people to keep coming back each week. So
the fact that they announced Lyra versus Dakota for next week, I mean, the fact that Chad Gable, you know, turns around to Adam Pearce and goes, I want you to find me the best luchador in the world, and I'm going to kill him next week. Like, obviously, we know that he's talking about Penta.
Yeah.
So we know that next week it's Chad and Penta. So again, like, it is going to make people go, oh, I can't wait now for next week, because Penta's, you know. So they did have to set up next week and you know, make us that watch it every week, and also people that might have tuned in that don't usually watch it, that enjoyed it, go, do you know what? Next week looks interesting as well, so I'll watch that as well. They did need to kind of, you know, and like I said, it was just a Raw.
Yeah, it was. They overhyped it, I think, because it was the first one. But when you boil it down, like you say, it was a standard Raw with some good matches. Though, you know, like I said before, there was only 4 matches on the whole show.
Yeah.
And if it was, you know, if we said there was only 4 matches on a Raw a year ago, we'd have gone fucking nuts. People would have gone nuts.
Yeah.
Like, how can you put 4 matches on? But they were good matches.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
I think
it felt like content over physical stuff, if you know what I mean. Because there was a lot of promo stuff, obviously. There was a lot of crowd shots as well, where they had everyone in the crowd, Macaulay Culkin in the crowd and things like that. And the one thing I will say I did like is, when it goes to commercial break, we continue to see the match, so we don't miss any of the action. We get exclusive interviews as well, while the Americans have adverts.
Yeah,
did you notice that?
Yeah, the only thing that I was disappointed with the Raw and the NXT New Year's Evil pay-per-view, because we've been told that once it goes to Netflix, like, it'll be a lot more raw. They'll be able to, like, you know, swear more and stuff. Netflix have muted every single swear word.
I did notice there was a lot of like the audio cut out.
Yeah,
but then my wife said, but that used to happen on TNT Sport as well. Like, they'd be halfway talking, Cole would be talking, it will go like quiet. It's like, why have they muted it? What's he saying?
Yeah, but I did notice every time someone said a swear word in a promo, Netflix have muted
Well, I
it.
don't know. The Rock didn't. When he was doing his promo in the ring, he swore, and that never got bleeped or muted. But yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a learning curve for Netflix and for WWE as well in what they can do and get away with. So I don't know whether they'll want to push the envelope a little bit to see what they can like get away with. But yeah, I I said, I did like that where, you know, normally Raw's 3 hours. If you take the commercials out, it's, you know, it's 2 hours 30 or something, or 2 hours 20 or something like that. You know, but now if Raw's 3 hours, us in the UK and Europe, it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
So we get, like, when they go to commercial break, we actually see the match continue and then it comes back, and we don't get that interruption. We also as well, it's worth noting that if you listen to the US, you would have missed all the New Day promos, because all the New Day promos were done during the ad breaks.
Right.
So you know where she kept cutting them off.
Yeah.
And then they were in the back, and then the Alpha Academy interrupted them. That was all during the commercial breaks.
Right.
So we got all of that. I know there were silly little things, but we got all of that. But it's the greatest. The thing that I liked is that you didn't miss any of the match. You know, when it goes to a break and it comes back, they're still wrestling, and you're like, well, hang on a minute, that's what's happened there, and I have to go, oh, this is what happened during the break.
Yeah.
Now we don't go. Now we go, oh, we know what happened because we've watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Even the commentary continues.
Yeah, and speaking of commentary, oh, it's so good having Pat back. I've said it before. I would pat nap him. I would say, if I were Triple H, I'd say, Pat, you've not got a choice, mate. You're on every Raw and every pay-per-view. Don't care.
I don't know why
he's too funny.
I do remember you saying, I think it was yesterday, that Corey's now gone down to NXT. I don't know if that's a demotion, but I'm surprised that they just didn't add him to one of the commentaries, so you got a free team commentary like they've done before.
Me personally, I'd have probably sent Wade to NXT, and I'd probably have had Joe Tessitore and Corey on SmackDown, Pat and Cole on Raw, and then I'd have had Corey Graves, Pat McAfee, Michael Cole as the three for the pay-per-view, which is what it's been for the last 12 months when Pat's been there. But it is, there's no two ways of looking at it. It is. I just hope that, I mean, and as well, I don't know if you noticed during the NXT, him and Booker were arguing a lot, and you could tell that it wasn't just like scripted. You could tell that it was. I think Booker's not happy that Corey Graves is back, because there was a few times where you could hear like mic's muted, no one's really saying anything, but then you'd hear Vic say, Booker, don't worry about it. Like it'll take a few weeks, and then we'll figure it out. We'll figure out when you speak. So, and it's like, but then like Vic went, oh, Corey, that's a great point that you just made about Obafemi. And then Corey was like, Corey said, well, you know, contrary to popular belief, I do actually know what I'm talking about as a pop at Booker. And then Booker was like, see, even there, usually we'd have a break there. And then Vic just started talking over me to go, Booker, fucking shut up.
Yeah. I don't know what, like I said, I don't know, like you're saying, I think they should have just added him to what they already had. I think they just wanted the two commentary teams. But we've had three before. They've gone from 2 to 3 to 2 to 3. They keep juggling it around. I think Corey will be one of those ones that they juggle around a bit.
Yeah, I just think him going from being the lead on SmackDown, because for the last 6-7 months, that's what he's been. He's been the lead commentator.
Yeah.
Now he's a third, the third commentator. So it's not even one step. It's not even gone down a brand. He's also gone from lead, not even to colour, just to the third added.
Yeah.
Like it is, but hopefully Corey thinks to himself. I mean, hopefully they just get rid of Booker T and it's just Vic and Corey, well, Corey will be like, well, him and Vic are best mates. I believe that they were best men at each other's weddings, and
Yeah.
And I think Corey will probably go, well, look at the action I'm watching on NXT, because the actual quality of wrestling that is put on NXT a lot of the time is better than what you see on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
If you watch Raw, SmackDown, and NXT in the same week,
yeah,
I bet there's quite a few times a year where the actual in-ring wrestling that you see on NXT is better than Raw and SmackDown. It's brilliant sometimes.
It's always been the case, and I've said many times in this podcast, it's the one show that you should be watching. You know, when they say what wrestling show should you be watching, week on week, NXT is one of them. It's got you are missing out so much not watching it. And we said this before, didn't we? Where like some people don't even watch NXT.
Yeah.
So they watch Raw, SmackDown. They don't even watch NXT. And I'm like, you're missing out because it's class.
Yeah,
you're missing out on not only like new stars coming up, but the wrestling storylines. Yeah. You're just missing out on a huge part of watching it.
It's a different feeling in it. And what I don't understand, I don't even know why. And I've been trying to figure this out for the last 2 or 3 years, and I can't. For some reason, the actual I'm sure that this isn't the case, but it feels like they have more freedom on NXT to do more.
Yeah, they have had freedom. Yeah,
was it Roxanne Perez? I think Roxanne Perez hit a drop kick on Julia and put her through the ropes to the outside, and I'm thinking, I haven't seen anyone do a drop kick that looked that brutal on a Raw or SmackDown in a long time. It just seems more physical. It seems the moves seem more, more physical. But
yeah. I mean, both. We said this off recording as well, that it was definitely lip service to the fans, both Raw and NXT. Because all the fan favourites or people you wanted to watch won on Raw, and it was the same on NXT.
Which was what I said. On our last podcast. The fan favourites that win.
They were going to pay lip service to the fans, to sort of hype it up. But I think in doing so, they've damaged Solo. Why the hell did Drew lose with a small package? Like, he got rolled up and it was like 1, 2, 3. It's like what? Especially the momentum Solo and Drew's had.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have placed money on Rhea winning. It was just obvious.
Yeah.
And then you also had, like you said, the last match, Rolls and Punk. It didn't matter which way it went.
Yeah.
Because I think because even afterwards, I think they said that was main event. That's what a main event is.
Yeah.
You're seeing a sneak peek of a pay-per-view main event, and we are.
Yeah.
I think that feud is going to continue. I think, like I said before, we're going to have like the best of 3 or the best of 4 or something like that. That is going to be like the best of series, because they're going to go backwards and forwards until the next one Rolls will win, and then it will be like like one of the main events of WrestleMania or something like that, where it will be Punk versus Seth Rollins, and it will be determined who is the greatest or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would be like I say, it'd be a best of 3 or something. But it was the whole Raw was okay. It was a Raw. It was a Monday night. We shouldn't be going, this is like the Raw Rumble standard or WrestleMania standard. This was just Monday Night Raw. I did think it should have featured more wrestlers, maybe interviews backstage. I mean, they had the War Raiders in the crowd, Rey Mysterio. There was a lot of stuff where they were just panning round. And they even had Braun Breaker, and I was like, hang on, he's a Raw roster. Why is he sat at ringside watching it? Shouldn't he be out the back? Like, even the Raw Raiders. There was that was another thing as well. There was no tag team match.
Yeah, well, there was supposed to be. It was supposed to be Penta and Rey Mysterio versus the New Day, but I'm assuming the fact that it's now going to be Chad Gable versus Penta next week. I'm assuming that they've changed their mind and didn't want. Maybe they didn't think, well, we don't want to just add Penta to be Ray's tag team partner just because they've both with each other. And they've probably thought about it and gone, well, for the fans that haven't seen much of Penta, it's probably best to give him a singles match where they can get a really good look at him. So yeah, again, I get it. The point. I think all I can say is this.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it, and the things that I wasn't happy with, I understand why it happened the way it did. You know, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy that it's on Netflix. It was overall, it was a good Raw. I'm not even dissing it because it was good. Obviously, we're fans, lifelong fans, really.
Yeah.
So we know what it can be and what it has been. So we're at that stage where I think a lot of people that have just come into it will probably think that's really good, and it was. I'm not quoting that, but we're at that point where we can go, well, that should have happened. We should have done this. They should have done that.
Yeah, and you know, I know that you've already heard me say this once, but I'm sorry, mate. I don't care. You're gonna have to hear me say it again. I'm gonna probably repeat this for the next 10 years because, and I'm not even exaggerating. You can ask my missus the next time that you speak to her. Yeah. I nearly fell off my sofa because I couldn't stop laughing that much. When Dom is giving Pat shit and Cole goes, "What did Thomas do?" What did he say to you, Pat? And he goes, "I don't know. I don't speak, bitch." Oh my God, honestly. I couldn't stop laughing. I think I missed the next 2 or 3 minutes of the match. I just couldn't stop laughing. But I wasn't expecting it.
They keep doing a lot of that, actually, where they sort of, later on, they've got a little camera on the announce table and they do stuff off camera when something's happening and they play it and it's brilliant.
Well, I sent you the video this morning, didn't
I? I did notice one thing, and that is I don't think we're going to get a collapsing commentary table anymore.
I know,
because the commentary table has now been reinforced both sides.
I noticed that.
And it's got loads of lights on it as well now. So I was like, well, that ain't... Well, even in the solo match, it didn't even budge.
Kev,
even in rolls as well, and it was like,
Kev, all you need to do is either get Jacob Fatu or Bronson Reed to hit a move on that, and then it'll go through.
Just thought, but when I saw it, because it looks like now, because normally it was just like a box, but it's now, if you look at it, it's got reinforced sides. The sides go longer than the top.
Yeah.
And it's all got lights and LEDs on it now.
It looked cool. It looked cool.
It looked really good. But I was like, that ain't collapsing easily.
I had exactly the same thought. I looked at that and I was like, that don't look like that goes through, you know.
No, that ain't collapsing for no one.
Yeah. Just quickly before we move on to NXT, I think. What do you think? Like, I'll be honest, and I hope I'm right here. I said on the last podcast, and you agreed with me, that if Solo loses, it ruins him. Like, where do you go from there? Yeah. But surely they have a plan. Because what he's done over the last 12 months has been incredible. And I'm thinking, surely they've got a plan, but at the same time, a massive part of his character and what has made him interesting has been the fact that he stole the other fella and he was calling himself the tribal chief.
Yeah.
Now he can't do that. I'm not really sure what happens with Solo and Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu now.
Yeah.
And either way, whatever the plan is, and I'm sure they do have a plan, it's not going to feel as important as what it did when, you know.
Yeah.
But again,
I think maybe the problem was as well is that they turned The Rock face again.
Yeah.
And I think he was better as a heel, but then I don't know why they did that. And it was it's like I just don't like if you put it down on paper and stuff, you're like, well, where can he go?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, where does he fit in now?
I mean, to be honest, you're saying that Rock's better as a heel, but you're only saying that because you enjoy hearing him call people meth head Marys and crackhead Karens, isn't it? That's the only reason.
Well, I just think he's a little bit more he can play into it more when he's a heel.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering whether they changed it, or maybe he said,
Yeah.
like I'm
He's
going out as the face now. 'Cause
he
I don't know where he goes now.
he basically
Before,
said
yeah,
on NXT, Ethan when Ethan
Ethan
Page
Page.
arguing with Ava, and obviously Rock interrupts him, and Ethan Page turns around and Rock says, Ethan Page, and Ethan Page goes, final boss, and he goes, yeah. So he is letting us know that he's still that character. And then when he actually cut the promo at the end, it was basically, he was taking the piss out of all of us, the fans, saying, at WrestleMania, like, less than a year ago, you were all crying your eyes out, saying, you can't be mean to Cody. So then on Raw, I gave him his flowers and said how proud of him I was of him for him carrying the company. And now all I'm saying is, you can't be nice to Cody, what you being nice for? But he was taking the piss out of us, the fans. That's still, so, and he basically said, he obviously said, know your own, shut your mouth, jabroni, and enjoy the ride that the Rock is going to take you on. So, look, he's got a plan. And I think we just need to wait and see what happens. I don't know whether he turns on Roman, or I'm assuming that's how he turns babyface. Because I'd be very surprised if Mania isn't Rock Roman. I'd be very, very surprised.
Yeah,
because they wanted to do it last year, and obviously,
exactly.
It was the outrage of the fans that.
Yeah, that was the sort of thing as well. It was a bit like saying, where do they go from here? Can they still do that? Though we've still got 3 months until WrestleMania.
Like you said on that last podcast, though, when Solo lost at the War Games, he said to Jacob Fatu, "Don't worry, this is all part of the plan."
Yeah.
So now, look, that doesn't really necessarily mean anything, because if we know anything I've been watching wrestling for 30 years. You've been watching it, without giving away your age, a little bit longer than me.
Yeah.
But we've been watching it for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And if there's anything that like for example, that this one always pops into my head, and nothing's ever been announced, but I'm pretty sure what the plan was. Do you remember when Finn Balor wrestled Roman for the belt, when Finn was the Demon King?
Yeah.
And it looked like he was going to win. He'd been taken out, and then the red light and the heartbeat, and then his demon body started twitching, and he rolls up like by the way, Finn Balor's mannerisms when he's the Demon King the way that he stood up, it wasn't human.
No.
I'm 6'4" and 17 and a half stone. It takes me a lot longer than that to get my fat ass off. But like the way, because he's laying on his front, but he seemed to just levitate his body up. It was incredible, like the way he did it, and it was like, whoa! I don't like that. That was a bit creepy. But then obviously at the end of that match, he was stood on top of the top turnbuckle, ready to do his coup de grace and win the belt, and then the top turnbuckle collapsed, and then Roman hit a spear, and Roman won. But then WWE on the Raw after released footage of quite clearly a woman with a black hoodie on tampering with that turnbuckle just before the match. But WWE posted that. Now this was 3 years ago. Yeah. 2.5 to 3 years ago. And we're now 3 years on. Who the fuck was that woman? Yeah. They literally did. Now, I believe the rumors was it was meant to be Naomi, because the bloodline was growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and obviously Naomi's married to Jimmy. Yeah. And if you look at it, looks like Naomi's kind of physique. It looked like it's her shape kind of thing. It could have been anyone, but it would have made sense for it to be Naomi, with obviously being married. Yeah,
they've still got that storyline, haven't they? Going, who took out Cargill?
Which again, it's Naomi. I'm almost certain that it's Naomi. But, the point I'm trying to make is, we're now 3 years on, and we've seen nothing. It's like they just went, forget that. So what I'm saying is, me and you were going, hang on. Solo said this is all part of the plan, so obviously something's happening, but that was months ago. Nothing. We could be sat here in 10 years' time going, Kev, what the fuck was that about? Why did Solo say that? Because I'm not being funny, Solo. 10 years has passed. Where's this plan? Because I've not seen anything. But this is what, look, in the world of wrestling, this is what happens. They have, they obviously wanted to change the main event of Mania last year. They wanted it to be Rock and Roman. And the fans was like, no, this is fucking bullshit. I'm not having it. We've been invested in this story since the day Cody returned at Mania against Seth Rollins. We've been behind this man finishing his fucking story and being the first man in his family to win the world title. Which, when you think who his dad is, and okay, Goldust was a comedy character, but given how long Goldust was there and how popular he was with the fans, it's actually quite remarkable to think that Goldust and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, never won a world title. So obviously, I think for Dusty, we wanted Cody to win the big one for his dad. So we was like, no, we're not having it. And then, so obviously they've then changed their mind, and they obviously we know how that played out. But in wrestling, things can change like that. So whatever they had planned, we might never actually see.
Find out.
I'm hoping that what Solo means by that is that Solo is being controlled by Roman.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm hopefully it comes to something. They've got to do something, because I like saying, it's like, where do they go?
Yeah, I don't know.
He may appear, because they're on SmackDown. We've got SmackDown this week, so they might appear on there, and then we might get some sort of inkling of what's going on.
Yeah, have you noticed as well? It's all getting a bit messy, because I keep doing it as well. Don't think I'm going to go at you. I'm not. This is everyone. But when you said earlier that Gunther didn't appear on Raw and he's Raw's champion, is he? Because with the transfer window's open, and we kind of know that Cody's going to Raw, and we've seen Gunther on SmackDown a few weeks ago shaking hands with
Nick
Aldis.
Yeah.
So it looks like Cody's going to Raw and Gunther's going to SmackDown. But
maybe
we're in this period at the minute where we don't really know who.
Well, it's not. They've not announced that they're doing a draft. What they've announced is it's a transfer window, isn't it?
Yeah. Michael Cole has mentioned 3 or 4 times that we're in a transfer window period where a few people can. I'll give him his chops. He always mentions NXT as well. He always says, between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, superstars can change and go to different shows while we're in this transfer. But they've not announced how long this transfer window's lasting. No. We've just had Raw superstars appearing on SmackDown shaking hands with Nick, and SmackDown going on to Raw shaking hands with Adam Pearce. It's all been like the camera goes on and when thank you very much. Yeah, it was a great conversation. I'll speak to you soon, shaking hands, and that's all we've seen. But they've been doing it now for like 6 weeks, and it's like. Is the transfer window shut? What's going on? Yeah. I think this is basically how me and you are going to be feeling on February the 1st, mate. Going, hang on, Man United and Arsenal haven't signed anyone.
What's going on?
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that it all plays out.
Yeah.
Because everything that happens now will be going into Mania season. Mm-hmm. So you have to be looking now that what they're putting in place is everything for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So, but getting on to NXT, once again, NXT was just a fan sort of show. It was, all the people that won were fan favourites. They were going to win anyway, sort of thing. It was called New Year's Eve. NXT do a lot of these sort of shows. If you've never seen NXT before, they sort of do a normal NXT, but they name it. They name it and give it a name. So New Year's Evil, they've done a few like this before, haven't they? Where they've given them specific names for just the standard NXT.
Yeah.
But I can see people coming up. The people that dropped the belts. I can see, Roxanne coming up. Perez, obviously Trick Williams as well. I can see them just because they've now. Sort of they've lost sort of thing, and it just seems like a natural progression. You've got Royal Rumble coming up as well. Where do they fit into the picture? Because obviously now someone else has got the belt. They're sort of, to be fair, Trick and Roxanne sort of old school now
Yeah,
because they've been there a couple of years now, and Trick Williams was with Carmelo Hayes for a long time.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
they
I
brought him
think
up, but left Trick there. So
I bet Trick's been there now for 3 years. I bet Roxanne's been there for 4.
yeah, well, they can swap and change. I mean, you've got to think that Shotzi's back in NXT.
Mm.
So they can stay there, they can move up, and they can go back. But I just think that the people that like I mentioned, Roxanne, Cora Jade, Trick Williams, I think they're all going to appear at the Rumble.
Yeah.
And then obviously make their choice on where they're going to go, sort of thing. I can see them being on SmackDown, but we'll see what happens. I think
Charlotte and Becky at the Rumble as well.
Yeah, well, Charlotte said she's ready. I think they're waiting for her to come back. Becky's just apparently just signed a contract, and she's due back into.
That was really interesting. That was really interesting that Sean Ross Sapp, after the first Raw on Netflix finished, he said, exclusive news, Becky re-signed with WWE a couple of weeks ago. But there's not been any discussions or conversations, and there is never any plans for it to be on this first Raw. Now, my question would be, why?
Yeah.
Why would you not want?
Maybe they're holding her back. Maybe, like you're saying, maybe we're going to have a lot of surprises at the Rumble.
Yeah. And another thing I'd say as well is, at least this time, Roxanne and Trick have dropped the belts a few weeks before, because it is annoying when, like, you know, when it's either the week before the draft or the week before the Rumble on that NXT, you know, the main champion drops the belt. You're like, well, they're coming up now.
Yeah.
Whereas at least this time it's a few weeks before, so you might, when we're watching Rumble, we might forget about Roxanne, and when the music hits, we're like, oh shit, they're bringing Roxanne up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, didn't they bring Roxanne up before? I'm pretty sure she's had a match on SmackDown a few times.
Yeah, she has.
And then she just sort of went back. I don't know what that's.
I think she appeared. Did she appear in last year's Rumble, and then she was on like the SmackDown after it?
I think so. Like I said, I think she was like, everyone was like, she was called up because she appeared on SmackDown a few times, and then it was like, and then she sort of just quietly went back. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be honest. I actually wouldn't have minded if they'd have kept the belt with Trick Williams and just brought Obafemi up from the Rumble.
Maybe they feel
he's an animal.
He's not. Yeah, maybe I'm wondering whether they feel that they don't want to push him too soon, because they've had that before where they've had a star come up from NXT and they've pushed him too soon and it's left to nothing.
Kev, did you see the way that he picked Trick Williams up? I've got a 5-year-old daughter. He picked a 6'3", 16-stone bloke up like I was picking my 5-year-old girl up. Come here, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Just picks him. But yeah, if the first powerbomb he hits, it picks him up, then kind of throws him in the air a bit, then catches him on his shoulders and then just goes, fuck off, and just slams him. But if you look at his face, he doesn't even grimace. It's like you're a fully grown man, and he's like, he just lifts him up like they're a child. He's a freak.
Yeah.
He's a freak.
It's. I think, like I said as well, this Netflix era, they're sort of gonna tailor, I think, more to it.
Yeah.
I know it's on the CW network in the US, but obviously internationally it's on Netflix. So I think they're sort of it's almost like a fresh start.
Yeah.
And they do this around WrestleMania season, around the Royal Rumble. Is they sort of have a reset. They sort of go, right, okay, so this is the new era now. So these are the new champions, as we've seen. These are the people going forward. And I think that's what they've done on NXT. They've got, right, okay, we've established they were part of the old lot. Now the new lot going forward for the CW network or Netflix is going to be Oma Theme and the rest sort of thing. So it's it's going to be an interesting on NXT. If you've not watched NXT, I've got to say, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen NXT, watch it because you're missing out on so much.
Yeah, it is really
and
good.
it's just like WWE as well. They do these video packages right at the start, so you can always pick up what's going on. And I said this because, like you were saying before, and you said about Bex, and you saying, "Oh, there's like so many video packages." That's every week, and I said, "That's." I mean, my daughter gets annoyed with it as well, and I said, "Well, that's because the good thing about wrestling is you can come into it at any point and pick it up straight away. You know what's happening because of the way that they play the promos, and the way they do the video packages. You know, you could spend 2 years away from the product, come back, and instantly know what's going on. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Like you could have not watched it for 2 years and randomly watched a Friday night SmackDown in February and instantly know what's going on, who's who, what's going on.
Yeah,
instantly, and that's the good thing about WWE. You can come in, and that's why I keep saying, because my daughter gets annoyed with it as well. Why do they have to do the recaps? Why do they have to do these video packages? And I said that's because if you've not seen it for a year or 2 or 3, or you've never seen it, you know exactly what's going on by watching those packages. You know exactly now what's going on. It establishes everything, and they do it every week for that thing. So.
And to be honest, I like the editing. I like the way that they put the video packages together. Yeah. I like the music that they choose in the background. They're enjoyable watching them when it's too. So like, but the video package between Seth and Punk, my missus was like, "Well, should we fast forward? I've already seen it." I'm like, "No." I don't care that I've already seen it. I want to, kind of remind myself. But the way they edit the video packages together with the music and I enjoy watching them when it's involving people that I like. If it was a video package for 2 people that I'm not really that interested in, then I'd fast forward it.
Yeah, I used to do that on a Monday when it was on TNT. I used to do that. So. Like Friday night or SmackDown, I should say, or Raw, I used to fast forward like the first 5 minutes because it was just recapping what happened last week. And I was like, we already know what happened last week because we watched it.
Yeah.
So we sort of just used to fast forward through that. But it's done like that for a reason. So you can come into it at any point. Even if you miss 2 weeks, and instead of going and watch the last 2 weeks, you can watch this week's and be caught straight up.
Yeah.
So there's that. I want to talk about SmackDown quickly.
Yeah.
The only thing that we know for SmackDown this week is LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the US title. I don't see LA Knight winning it. Why would you then drop the title? So we've had this before with Braun Breaker. He dropped the title and then went straight back. But I don't see them doing that this time. Someone's going to interfere
because it's the first SmackDown of the new era. Maybe they want to give LA Knight a big moment by having him win the belt again. I don't know. I'll be honest. I couldn't tell you who's winning that. It could go either way.
I mean, I like LA Knight. I've liked him for a long time, even when he was in TNA, NWA as well. He's good on the mic and he does well. And he doesn't. The good thing about excuse me. The good thing about him is that he doesn't need a title to be good.
No.
And I think they sort of go, well, we have to give him something. No, you don't. Just give him a mic. And get him out there because the crowd go nuts and he does so well on it.
Yeah.
And he's a good wrestler as well. So he's that whole package. And we've talked about that loads of times on the channel, haven't we? Like, Randy Orton is the whole package. Good on the mic, good at promos, good wrestler.
Yeah.
LA Knight is the same. He's great at promos, great at talking on the mic, and he's a great wrestler. and you don't really get that package very often. Kevin
No, you
Owens
don't.
is the same. Great promo, great wrestler, great on the mic. And then there's other people that are not too good, and we've said this before, like Seth Rollins.
Yeah, all those sets promo work with Punk has been brilliant.
It's been getting slightly better, but like you said, he almost seems like he needs a script. He can't go on his own, sort of thing. Not like Randy, Kevin, or LA Knight. He can't just go off script.
Yeah, whereas I do think his promos with Punk, I think he has done.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot better. I think they've.
Yeah.
You've also got to think as well that for the last 3 years we've had Triple H in charge.
Yeah.
Where before I think there was more reins on everyone.
Yeah.
What they could say and what they couldn't say. Because I know if you've watched a lot of backstage stuff and you've looked at a lot of interviews, you'll know that when people have left the company, they said, even with Bray, they done it in the documentary for Bray Wyatt, where Triple H said, "We want you to do this promo," and he goes, "Oh, I'm gonna say it this way," and they're like, "No, we want you to do it exactly like the promo, exactly what we've written in the script." And this was during Vince McMahon, and he was like, and he would throw something in there, and Triple H said, "He's great, but his mind's 100 miles an hour all the time, so he's always coming up with ideas. He's always changing his mind." And we've written this promo out for him, and we want him to say it, and he's like, "Oh, but I don't want to say it like that." And you know what I mean? It comes conflict.
Yeah.
But I think now with Triple H in charge, he's probably just gone, "There's the script. Actually, throw that out the window. You do what you do."
Yeah, which is the better way of doing it.
Yeah. It just works better. But yeah, I just I don't know if anything else has been announced for SmackDown. I haven't seen anything. I would imagine that we're going to have Cody Rhodes. For someone who's injured, he does seem to want to wrestle a lot and stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, I like the fact that they're still saying he's injured, yet that there's videos of him beating Owens in a steel cage match at a house show, like a week and a half ago.
Yeah, and we don't want the match too soon. We want it at Royal Rumble, so you're 100%. But you keep coming out and fighting him. Yeah, there's that.
I mean, what do you know? What I would say though, look, I'm probably wrong. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Right. Are they going this deep on his injury so that it makes sense for Owens beating him? Because Nicole keeps saying, it keeps going, "Cody, you know as well as I do how bad your neck is.
Yeah.
Like, please don't." On the last SmackDown, where they were like stood in the car park, and Nick was like, "Please think of yourself, think of your family, and think of this company. If you wrestle Kevin Owens, you're putting your title at jeopardy, but you're putting the rest of your career at jeopardy. And without you at the minute, this company isn't going to be as as good as it is with you. So think of yourself and think of the company, and don't fight him until you're fully fit. Like, don't fight him until your next cycle is really bad." And they keep like going on about it, and I'm just wondering if they're really going to tell him about his neck injury, so that there's a reason as to why Kevin's beat him, because they obviously don't want to make Cody look weak. Whereas if it's like, well, he's got a really bad neck, and then Owens hits another pile driver on him and beats him, well, he's broke his neck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a difficult one, because it's a bit like, okay, if it wasn't at the Rumble, I would say Kevin Owens wins and Cody wins the Rumble again, and then challenges Kevin Owens for the title. But then it's happening at the Royal Rumble, so I don't know, like who would, like right now on paper, right? Who do you reckon's winning the Royal Rumble? I've got no one apart from Drew McIntyre, maybe, or someone like that. I don't know. There's like no one.
I've got nothing. I have no idea.
This is like the first year I think I've gone at this point where I've gone, I don't know who's going to win the Rumble.
For the men's, the only two that I would throw, I do think that there's a chance of Cena winning the Rumble, but I think it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to make us wait. I do think he will win the 17th title, but the fact that what's the point in Cena cutting that promo on Raw where he's like, I've got virtually no chance of winning a title. And he's like, but I could win the Royal Rumble, I could win the Elimination Chamber, I could do this, I could do that. You know, why have him do this? He's obviously going to take us ride. There's no point in him cutting that promo for then 3 weeks later him to win the Royal Rumble and be main event in Mania in a title match. It's like you've given it us straight away. So I don't think I think I don't know. Part of me thinks Punk. Part of me thinks Punk, but I really think it'll be Punk and Seth at the Rumble.
Really, if it was Punk, that would guarantee him his WrestleMania main event.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you know? Do they do something where
are we going to get CM Punk versus Gunther?
At the end of his match against Seth, he said, "Gunther, Cody Rhodes, I'm coming for you."
Yeah,
you know, he's coming for one of them. I don't know how it would work, but imagine if Punk wins the Rumble.
Yeah.
Picks Gunther, and then Seth wins the Elimination Chamber and also picks Gunther.
Oh yeah.
So it's a triple threat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's just.
Whereas
it's the first time in a long time where I've gone, shit, I don't know who's going to win. Like, I don't know. Even the women's side, I'm like,
yeah, who wins the women's Rumble?
It's just, yeah.
Do you know what? I couldn't even give you a single name for the women who I think will win the Rumble. I think it'd be a bit shit if I think it'll be either Charlotte or Becky. They'll return and win it, but they've both already won it, and I quite like it when people win the Rumble that haven't won it before.
Well, not only that, normally it's someone who's up and coming, isn't it? Normally it's someone who's going to carry the company going forward, sort of thing, or they've got some sort of story to tell. But at this point, like, Roman doesn't need to win it.
That's a good shout though. You know, that's a good, because as Roman won the Rumble once. I don't actually know. I think he has won it once, but the only Rumble that I can think of where it was when he was forced to defend the title in the match, and it was that Triple H and Roman Blaster, and Triple H beat him to win the title. Yeah. I can't actually remember Roman winning a Rumble, so it must have been earlier than that.
So could he win the Rumble?
Well, my question.
I mean, could he win the Rumble and then challenge The Rock for the People's title?
You just fill for like 30 seconds while I Google has Roman Reigns won a Royal Rumble, because in my head, saying yes, he's won it once.
I'm sure he's won it.
Don't remember him winning it.
I'm sure he's won it once. I mean, there has been some letdowns in the past who have won it. You know, most notably Shinsuke Nakamura. He won the Rumble and they completely dropped the ball on him.
Yeah. So he won it once in 2015, fucking 10 years ago.
Jeez, yeah.
He eliminated Rusev. Now, to just give you an idea as to who won it, to just really drum home how long ago that was. The Rumble before, so Reigns won it by eliminating Rusev. The year before, Batista won it.
Right.
By eliminating Roman Reigns. The year before, Cena won it by eliminating Ryback. And the year before, Sheamus won it by eliminating Chris Jericho. This is how far back it was that Roman won the Rumble. So I think that's a good shout, that. I think Roman is a really good shout. I'm just going to say it. I love you, Solo. Imagine Jacob Fatu winning it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
But I could see. Now I've said it, I could see Roman winning it and then not challenging for the two titles, but the People's Champ. because The Rock said that he's come out with that title, and I think they did say that they were going to have a match for the People's Championship.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether now, if Roman wins it, he challenges The Rock for that title. I want to be the People's Champ.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's all up in the air.
There's
Isn't
options.
it?
There's so many options.
We're going to leave it there for now.
Yeah.
Once again, it's been great. Make sure you click like, subscribe,
Yes.
comment as well, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be back here on Monday, as always.
Yeah.
It's been great. Thanks, Dan, for coming along.
No, pleasure.
Give us a chat. Otherwise, it would just be me sitting here on my Todd chatting to no one. Chatting to Seth Rollins, who's down here.
Yeah, pleasure as always, mate. I always enjoy it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. We will. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you at the next one.
Yeah, we'll see you then. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next one. See you later, guys.